Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to show you what it would take to get a $10,000 monthly benefit from Social Security. Now, I know there are those of you who are already saying, Devin, a $10,000 benefit isn't even possible. Now, just hang on for a second because I want you to think this one through with me. It is possible that at some point, if certain politicians get their way, you could see some people receiving benefits that are $10,000 per month or even higher. Now, let me just say right here at the beginning of this video that this is going to be all about your feedback. I don't think a lot of people have thought about what I'm going to cover today, so I really want to hear what you have to say down in the comments. Now, again, I know you're probably saying, Devin, wait a minute here. I've seen this on the Social Security website, and if you retire for retirement age in 2022, your maximum benefit would be $3,345. A $10,000 benefit is not possible. Well, that's absolutely correct. Right now, it's not possible, but the winds of change are blowing, and we all know that some type of reform is going to be made to the system. One of the most popular changes suggested is to raise the taxable cap. As most of you are aware, there's a limit on how much Social Security tax you pay on wages. Any wages over a certain amount are not subject to the limit. Now, I don't want to get into a lot of detail here about the merits and drawbacks of raising the cap in this video. There's plenty to discuss there, so I want to reserve that for its own video. But not long ago, in the community section of my YouTube channel, I posted a poll. The question was, should the taxable maximum be raised? And I made sure to put some explanatory information in there to make sure everyone knew exactly what I was talking about. There was just over 1,300 people that voted, and over 1,000 of them said yes, raise the cap, and less than 300 said no, leave it like it is. So today, I want to talk about what happens if they just raise the cap with no other alterations and how that could result in Social Security benefits of $10,000 per month or even higher. This is something, I'm telling you, a lot of people don't think about. To frame this conversation correctly is going to require a little context. So first, let's go back and look at the taxable maximum dollar amounts. Since 1983, this limit has been changed on an annual basis in response to the average wage index. If the average wages of Americans go up, so does the taxable cap. Now, it was done this way to make sure that the cap continued to capture about 90% of all wages into the future. And the way this is set up now is that if your earnings exceed this limit, they are not subject to Social Security tax. But the trade-off here is that those earnings that exceed the cap don't count towards your future Social Security benefit either. And since the system was started, there is always meant to be a connection between the amount of taxes you paid in and the amount of benefits you received. Now, to see how this maximum taxable earnings works in the benefits calculation, let's go back through those steps real quick and look at how your benefit is calculated. And then I'll walk through an actual example that would lead to a $10,000 monthly benefit. So first, the Social Security Administration takes all of your historical earnings, and in each year, they only include those earnings up to that year's maximum taxable earnings amount, and then they index those for inflation. So again, if your earnings exceed the maximum for that year, that portion that exceeds the maximum is not included. Then they take the highest 35 years of earnings and sum them up. Then you simply divide by 35 to get the yearly average, and then by 12 to get the monthly average. And you can also just divide that sum by 420, since that's the number of months in 35 years. The result of this is your averaged index monthly earnings, and they often just refer to this by its acronym, AIM. Once you have your AIM, you apply it to the formula in place the year you turn 62, and only that formula will ever be used to calculate your benefit. So for example, let's just assume that that's this year's formula. There are 3 bands of averaged index monthly earnings, and you multiply the amount of AIM in each band by a given multiplier, and then all 3 of them contribute to your future benefit differently. It's the AIM bands that change every year. The multipliers all stay the same. For the amount in the first band, you multiply by 90%. For the amount in the second band, you multiply by 32%. And for any amount in the third band, you multiply by 15%. The result of these 3 calculations is summed up, and that makes your primary insurance amount, or PIA, which is the equivalent to the amount you could receive at full retirement age. Now, this formula is going to be at the heart of this conversation, so I want to make sure this is crystal clear. Let's work through an example here and just assume your aim is $7,000. The first 1,024 is multiplied by 90%, so that's $921.60. The second band is between 1,024 and 6,172, so there's $5,148 of aim there, and that's multiplied by 32%, and that gives you an additional $1,647.36. Then you have the amount over 6,172, and with an aim of 7,000, that leaves $828. You multiply that by 15%, and you have $124.20. Then you simply sum up the results of your multiplication and round down to the next lowest dollar for a full retirement age benefit, or PIA, of $2,693. So now that we're all on the same page with a basic understanding of how the maximum taxable cap works with the benefits calculation, here's the $10,000 question. What happens if they raise the cap? Will those additional taxes also credit a future benefit? Now, the intent of the Social Security program is one where you receive a benefit in line with the amount of taxes you contributed to the system. If that connection is broken, does this just turn into another welfare system? This is where I want to hear from you in the comments. If someone has to pay additional taxes, do you think those additional taxes should be credited to their future benefit? I'd also like to hear why you think either they should or should not. So now let's walk through an example that could actually result in a $10,000 monthly benefit. So let's say that someone went to medical school, law school, or they were starting a business and didn't really have any income until they were nearly 30. But once earnings started, they were really high. In fact, in every year, they were well over the current maximum taxable cap. They started around $250,000 in the late 80s, and by the time they were 66, their earnings had leveled off to just under $700,000 per year. Now, an individual like this is in the group that's directly in the sights of the folks who want to raise the cap. According to them, individuals with an income like this are not paying their fair share. They're only paying taxes on a small part of their income. But remember, only the portion that's subject to the tax counts towards a future benefit. What would happen if this individual was subject to the tax on all of his or her earnings? Let's compare those. First, we'll look at a benefit under the current system, and we're assuming this person would be full retirement age in 2022. This would result in a benefit at full retirement age of $3,345. But if all earnings were included, this would result in a benefit of $10,000. So when you hear all the talk about raising the cap, the piece that also has to be addressed is, how do you credit the additional taxes towards a future benefit? Just saying don't offer any credit towards a future benefit because those high-income people don't need it anyway would violate the spirit of the Social Security system. Now, I'll reserve most of my commentary on this as a policy change for a future video, but I do think it's worth looking at the results of increasing taxes. If the cap was completely eliminated, that still isn't going to fix the shortfall problem we're facing in 2034 or even sooner. If they credit benefits at the current formula and they don't mess with that formula, it's only going to fix 57% of the shortfall. And if they offer no credit, it will still only fix 73% of the problem. So this isn't as cut and dried as some make it seem. But whatever changes come, and there will be changes, I'll be right here keeping you informed. So if you haven't already, you really ought to subscribe and hit that notifications button. That way, when something happens, hopefully sooner rather than later, you'll find out the real story from me. Again, leave your comments below. They are very important to me, and I read every one of them. Thanks for watching.